Hello and welcome once again to Stop the Press. I'm Rob Chadwick, a lecturer at Exeter College in journalism. I'm here with Bill Martin, who was 35 years in the business as an editor, and Nick Copson, who was over 20 years working in marketing within journalism. Hello, fellas.
Hello, Rob.
Hello, Rob. Hello, Bill.
Hello, Nicholas. How are you? Welcome back.
Yes, Nick's in the studio this week, which has the disadvantage of us not being able to hang up on him, which is a shame.
You can still cancel me if you want, Rob.
I can turn down your fader, that's
exactly,
right.
yeah.
I am in charge of the desk, so that's good.
And
so
he's grumpy today as well, I warn you.
Yeah, I'm not very well. You can probably hear it in my nasally voice, even more nasally than usual.
Menopausal, I think.
Hilarious.
You need to get some more Instagram algorithms, Rob.
Brilliant. Anyway, let's move on. So we're just going to have a bit of a catch up on the news because obviously last week we kind of did a sporty type thing and talked about baseball and such like, and we haven't talked about the news since beginning of December when we did our last episode before Christmas. So let's do a catch up on what's been happening, and lots has been happening, such as Trump banging on about Greenland, America going into Venezuela and taking out Maduro.
I'd almost forgotten about that.
Reform, taking lots of horrible Tories over to the Reform Party, and the World Cup draw, which was since we did our last episode, which I wanted to talk about because of the fantastic Trump Peace Prize moment, which is just one of the most comical moments of all time.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to start, people?
Oh, can we start with Robert Jenrick?
You've been itching to use a certain word to describe him, I know.
I have.
So what do we think of Reform recruiting all these Tories? Are they now just becoming like the Tories? The nasty Tories? The even nastier Tories?
Well, I think, the Tories famously were called the Nasty Party, weren't they, in the 90s, in the sort of post-Thatcher period. And I think there was a real attempt in the early 2000s, wasn't there, in the teens, to sort of get rid of the nastiness and the nastiness.
David Cameron tried to sort of rebrand a bit.
Dave, my hero, particularly, with his hugger hoodie and Big Society and
all of that stuff.
All that sort of stuff, which I quite liked in its sort of ridiculous way. But now it seems, I think the Tories' only hope now is that all these lunatics like Jenrick and the sort of the nasty ones, or very ambitious ones, perhaps you might call them, are moving across to Reform. I think Reform might regret taking some of them on. I mean, Suella Braverman literally 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Went across. Another. I'm sure she's a very nice person, but she has some strident and I think quite unpleasant attitudes.
Or do you think this will be a challenge towards Nigel Farage in the long term then?
Well, I don't know. I mean, clearly, Jenrick clearly is a very ambitious politician, isn't he? So, I mean, I assume he's expecting some sort of high-profile role in the Reform government, which, I mean, that's the scary thing, isn't it? Because we went to the polls this afternoon. I think Reform would win, hands down. The right-minded members of society, the men and women on the Clapham omnibus, we would talk to think about normal people in journalism school, would, I think, hope that the next election is far enough away for the Reform bandwagon to fall apart. You, Nicholas, of course, will be fully signed up to the Reform revolution.
I haven't decided yet.
Hoping they'll take
I'll
it.
have to see what shape the Tories get into in 3 years' time, but I haven't decided.
But I don't, Kemi Badenoch's already said it, hasn't she? She says that the party's spring cleaning. She's doing the spring cleaning, and by leaving, they're doing the spring cleaning for her. And I think, in a sense, if I was a Tory strategist, which thank God I'm not, I would be looking towards moving into that sort of centre-right. There's people like me who've got nobody to vote for anymore, and I would definitely fit into a sort of centre-right.
There were parallels with Labour after the Corbyn years, sort of trying to get rid of the absolute left-wing people and become a little bit more centrist and a bit more electable, which worked for them. They got in and it worked. And now, of course, they're in. They can't get anything done because all of the people
Because they've
who
got
are
no policies.
well, and the ones they've got don't fit with the backbenchers because the backbenchers are still those left-wing people who want all of those things still to happen.
I think my fear with it is that if the Tories get their act together by doing this and they get rid of the people that are the outliers in their party or the mouthpieces and get their act together, you could end up with a scenario where you've got two right-wing parties. People don't know who to vote for. And you end up with Labour for another 3 or 4 years on top of that.
In a first-past-the-post system, you could easily end up with that. But then left-wing vote is getting split between the Green Party and Labour as we stand as well. So we could end up with a Danish situation where we end up with it being negotiated as to who's going to be in power and some sort of, what's it called, where you have lots of parties ruling together. A Labour and
Coalition.
Thank you. I'm not very well. Yes, a coalition. So you have a coalition government, a whole Borgen situation. We used to watch Borgen.
Yeah, but it'd be a mess. Let's be honest, it'd be a mess.
It would, yeah.
But fortunately, it's a long way off at the minute, isn't it? And there's going to be all sorts of
twists and turns.
Yeah, twists and turns. I think, and I think reform is taking on its fair share of problems, and if there's going to be any life left in the Conservative Party, as I prefer to call it rather than Tories, then they're probably doing it a favour.
Yeah, and Kemi Badenoch seems to be performing reasonably well recently.
Yeah, she's done better. I was, funny enough, on the way here, I was listening to some former colleague of mine, Matt Chorley, sort of talking about her Desert Island Discs.
Yes.
Appearance and the songs she'd chosen, and it's like all those things, isn't it? They do show a sort of human side. I was staggered to see that her what is it, luxury you get was 22 Marvel films. She never struck me as being that sort of person.
Really?
But that's what she chose.
She's showing leadership, isn't she? I mean, prior to now, the Conservative Party have been lacking in leadership ever since, well, probably Boris Johnson left, really. So she's showing leadership, but the problem is, though, there's no one...
Just to rephrase.
Even during...
Ever since Boris Johnson started.
Okay, fine. All right, you got that one. But...
no, I think in the...
You can't name the rest of the shadow cabinet. There's no one else in that shadow cabinet, especially now since Jenrick's gone. So.
No.
But it's certainly consolidated her, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, yeah.
It has appeared, though, hasn't it? There's been this sort of roller coaster of announcements. It does feel, doesn't it, that politics at the minute is a bit more about playing to the media than it is about any sort of real ideological shift. I mean, at the minute, you do well to get a bit of tissue paper between the Tories and Reform on many issues, and Labour, in fact.
Yeah, I was going to say, not much between them and Labour, really.
In a sort of policy agenda that's dominated by immigration and what we're going to do about it. There's not a lot between the lot of them, is there? So there's an awful lot of grandstanding, an awful lot of Britain's broken, but we can fix it. I mean, who hasn't said that at the minute?
Well, exactly.
The problem is, though, going back to media and what we're here to discuss, really, social media and new media doesn't help with any of that, does it? You go back to the 90s and noughties, longer form broadcast media and tabloid media was obviously predominant, right? It allowed a platform for policies to be engaged with, right? Yeah. Now it's all about clips and short videos and updates on YouTube, and it doesn't really. It means that it's more of a sort of a PR battle. It's more about the people and what they've got to say in short format than any real proper engagement on their performance.
I think the leaders have started to realise that there's a young youth vote out there that could, if you could mobilise it, is going to make a big difference to electability. Especially especially Zach Polanski, who seems to be really appealing to a younger vote, and even Farage to a degree, who's appealing to a younger vote. And they're using TikTok in a way which is actually going to get that message out there. And the more traditional parties are getting a little bit left behind because of that, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean that's the sort of general feeling, isn't it? But it does feel that they're everything. I mean, we'll get on to Trump in a minute, won't we? And he's an absolute genius at it, isn't it? It's about. It feels like politics now is about playing to the media and playing the media, rather than about
having policy,
and certainly ideology.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a sort of sort of some very basic differences on ideology. You either think, we're in a climate emergency, or you don't, and then whichever side of the fence you sit on that, there's no sort of discussion then about actually what the policies are.
It feels like politics is becoming very personality led, even though ironically most of these people haven't got much of a personality, right? It feels like Trump is, and Farage of course, but Trump certainly is leading the line on policy led politics, and it feels like let's say the British politicians feel like they're trying to play catch up, even though they're not going to get anywhere near that level of ineptitude.
Well, I don't
feels
think
like they're trying to play in that sort of style, as if the traditional political forums have watering away a little bit.
I don't think you get away with it in this country. There is an electorate out there who will kind of take that nihilistic, everything's horrible, and I'm going to vote for the person who says that they'll smash it up type person. Yeah. But Bill points at Nick, and but there aren't enough of them to get you elected nowadays. There are still, most people are kind of, I was having a conversation with someone. I went down the range the other day because the course is waterlogged and has been for days and days.
The driving range,
the driving range,
not the range.
No, the driving range. I was hitting balls, and we were talking about it, and he was kind of saying, yeah, but I don't believe in this, but generally speaking, most people shrug their shoulders and go, I'm all right, I'm doing okay. And if you look at us in comparison to most places in the world, we're still probably in the top 10% of places to live. In fact, not even probably.
Yeah,
we are in the top 10%. And most people don't feel like it's an absolute nightmare. They know there's an underlying problem, but they don't feel like there's an absolute nightmare, partly because the leaders aren't telling them the truth. They aren't telling them that we're completely skint and that we need to do something about it. And so the politicians are carry on saying, well, things will be all right if you just vote for us. Well, voting for someone doesn't make any difference to the underlying problems of the country.
No, it doesn't. No.
It doesn't matter who's in power. We will still have that massive debt and we'll still need to deal with it. And none of them are saying it. Well, Kemi Baden, to a degree, is beginning to say it. Other than that, no one's really saying it.
Yeah, but you're right. But that debt is far too big. Or any country's debt is realistically far too big. But Britain certainly is far too big for any party that's in power at that moment in time to do anything about.
But it's not good media, is it?
It just gets kicked down the line, doesn't it?
Yeah. And sooner or later, it's all going to explode. Government bonds are going to crash, and we're going to have a nightmare.
I think that it's not good media, that is it?
No,
it doesn't. It's not sexy media. It's quite hard work. It's difficult to understand the scale of the numbers.
Yeah.
Once you get beyond, sort of a billion, I mean, does anyone really know what a billion is?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's difficult.
Once you get into those big numbers, people don't get it. And I think for so long, we've been aware that there's a national debt and things like that, but everything, I remember when Greece famously went bust, didn't they?
Yeah. But they seem to be all right now.
When I go to Greece, it's fine.
Yeah. And it probably was at the time.
It's quite nice, actually.
I don't know how it can be, but their only export is, olives or something.
Sunshine.
Going back to reform, if you're like a reform councillor or a reform old stalwart who's been there for ages, I was going to say Bill, but actually Nick, and suddenly all these Tories come in, and they're quite senior Tories who have had cabinet positions previously, are you going to be a little bit like, hang on a minute, this isn't my party, and are they usurping me, and is it likely to cause a rift? Is reform on the verge of kind of almost shooting itself in the foot by taking in these senior Tories?
Yeah, I think it could. I don't really know the calibre of the people beyond Farage in the Reform Party, to be honest.
Low.
Well, that was my
and yet
assumption.
You were prepared to vote for them.
I've never said I would vote for them. I said that it's heading in that direction because the Tories are an absolute shambles, or at least they were until.
I don't know the calibre of the people in Reform Party, so I'm going to vote for them.
I don't even know the calibre of the people in the Tory Party, to be honest. But to your point, I feel like yes, some traditional staunch Tories going across into the Reform Party could water down what the Reform Party was originally trying to do and be.
And that could disillusion the potential voters. We wanted something that would smash things up and change things, and actually all we're getting is a bunch of crooks from the Tory party moving over. Yeah.
But let's not forget, they were originally essentially UKIP.
I stand by that. Nadeem Zahawi was one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So they could morph basically into from a United Kingdom Independent Party to Conservatives 3.0, if there is such a thing.
Exactly. And that could really cost them. And we're still 3 years away from an election, so it could really cost them.
You'd think, wouldn't you? You would think that this would be a massive opportunity for a even half well-led Liberal Party.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they're not there.
But
Hello, Ed Davey.
it does seem, doesn't it, that no one's listening.
There's an opportunity.
No one's listening.
There's an opportunity out there. There certainly is, but I don't think anyone's capable of grabbing it.
Of the parties that are there, the only ones that I feel are on the verge of even trying to grab it is currently the Conservative Party, and that could easily go either way. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about America.
Something very interesting about Suella Braverman.
Go on.
She's actually called Sue Ellen, and she was named after Sue Ellen in Dallas.
Oh, I did hear that once. Yeah.
Yeah, or was it
really?
Dynasty? Dallas, wasn't it?
What? And she's called herself Suella.
I think it's a
Depole thing.
Well, I just think it's a amalgamation, or
Oh, really?
who knows?
Yeah.
Good. Right. So moving on.
Wikipedia. There you go.
Excellent. So, what about America and the fact that they nabbed Maduro out of Venezuela, and how do we feel about that in terms of world order and legalities and things like that, and the way it was done? What do we think?
Where
Big
do we start?
pause.
I mean, it doesn't really sit alone, does it? I mean, it's because of what's happened since with Greenland, and the thing I most want to talk about is the Board of Peace, which is a fabulous creation, I think. I mean, clearly, and I don't know if you saw Mark Carney speaking at Davos last week and that sort of thing. I mean, a new world order. All the old rules have gone out the window, haven't they?
Yeah.
We've got the most powerful man in the world right now, or the two most powerful men in the world, or the three most powerful. So, Russia, the United States, and China basically all signed up to the idea that, look, we're in charge. We can do pretty much whatever we want. And Trump very openly and very brazenly, throwing his weight around very publicly, using the media very effectively, not just, the global media, to do whatever he wants. He declared himself the president of Venezuela at one point. Having, I've got no idea whether they're going and taking him. I mean, I'll be amazed if that is legal. I'm sure there wasn't any consultation on it and that sort of stuff.
It feels like it was quite easy. It feels to me like there was a little bit of negotiation behind the scenes before it actually happened.
Quite possibly.
Because it wasn't incredibly difficult to go in there and get a world leader and take him out of a country.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, let's be honest, they're the superpower of the world. Yeah. And it's Venezuela. I can't imagine, it'd be like, Man United playing Cheltenham Town. It'd be a walkover in the park, basically.
Up until 2 weeks ago, I'd have said Cheltenham had a chance.
True that. I don't know if it's illegal or legal, by the way, actually. It hasn't come to light, has it? Or
no.
It doesn't interesting. It doesn't matter anymore, does it? Because he's done it. It's happened, it's gone, done it, flew him to New York. I mean, he's certainly been in front of court. Have they tried him?
I don't know.
I'm sure they have.
I think he was in front of court one. What's interesting to me about the whole Trump situation is the way that the press officer manages the media. Caroline Levitt, do you watch many of her press briefings?
Yeah.
She's hilarious. She's absolutely brilliant, isn't she? That's not the question. This is the question. And President Trump's great. What do you think about this? That's not the question. President Trump's great. And that's basically their media strategy, isn't it? President Trump's great. She is like bonkers, but absolutely brilliant at her job, isn't she?
That's worrying though when that becomes focused on what's been happening in Minneapolis.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
When there's been a narrative that's been portrayed by the government, which doesn't seem to even remotely reflect the pictures that I've seen.
No,
it's
horrendous.
Mind you can get a picture of anything to prove anything these days, can't you? But I mean, to me, it seems pretty clear that the story of what happened. Certainly, the second guy who's been shot is very and the story that's coming out of the White House about why he was shot and what happened previous to that just seems to me blatantly untrue.
Yeah, it's a lie, isn't it?
And again, there doesn't seem to be an enormous amount of challenge to that. But the press officers are so dedicated to Trumpism that they can't be swerved from it. It's extraordinary to watch.
It is,
scary.
yeah. I mean, it's really scary. The ICE people, masked people with guns, going en masse into cities, grabbing people off the streets, whoever they feel like, and shooting the odd person. I mean, it feels really close to civil war over there, doesn't it?
It feels very close to the early days of fascism in Germany.
Yeah, yeah.
In pre-war Germany, and I think everything that Trump's doing at the minute sort of points to a sort of fascist regime, doesn't it? And yeah. It's the press has got a role to play in that, hasn't it? I think it Bertrand Russell said about fascism is first they. What was it? I have to look up.
I know. First they come for something, isn't it? Well, let Bill do his research.
First they fascinate the fools, then they muzzle the intelligent.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a sort of secret of fascism, isn't it? And you can see how both Trump and Farage, play, to the sort of, the most populist
Narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting that Farage is one of the biggest cheerleaders for getting rid of the BBC as well.
Yeah.
That follows as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think what's interesting for me with it, and I've been I look at a lot of the commentary on various social platforms in relation to what happened actually at the Davos UN Economic Forum with Trump's car crash of a speech, is that prior to now the let's say in America the more democratic voter was clearly embarrassed by Trump, didn't want him in there, of course. The more Republican voter obviously did, right? But I sense, listening to some of the commentary on social media, that actually, it looks to be that's moving more towards more of America is now embarrassed by him. Just by his performance on a world stage, especially in contrast to people like Mark Carney, who carried himself very effectively in a very tricky situation, trying to manage that with Trump on the world stage. He came out of that with a lot of respect and credibility. And it feels to me that, I don't know what, obviously Trump's still got, 3 years left, right? But
Three.
2.5.
Right? But, I mean, I don't know what can happen politically in that time, right? It can obviously get a lot worse.
What with him in charge, quite a lot.
But what I'm interested in what will happen to world politics after Trump, because, has he changed the landscape so significantly that we can never find that prior world order before we had, or if there is a new democratic president coming in, will that person work hard to establish, let's say, the normal running of things? That's what's interesting for me.
Well, it depends. It's interesting you ask that because, of course, we don't know. But then you get onto the famous Board of Peace, which, as you know, Trump has set up. He's invited a series of nations to join. He says all the great world leaders have joined. It doesn't. When I see the list, it doesn't quite look like they have to me. But anyway, some people have joined. He, interestingly, has made himself chairman of it for life. So when if we ever get to the point when he's not president, he will still be chairman of the Board of Peace.
See,
so if he's achieved his goals, which I assume is to replace the United Nations, and he's fixed Gaza. I mean, did you see the AI-generated images of Gaza?
Yeah,
I did. It's amazing. He's quite rightly the chairman of the Board of Peace. He's won the FIFA Peace Prize. I mean, it's a logical carry on from that, really.
Normally what happens in a second term of a president is they become largely insignificant as time goes on because everyone's then looking at the next potential incumbent, right? So that's clearly not going to happen with Trump because he's such a force of nature. But I suspect that most people from this point onwards, especially after that Davos conference, they will start to suffer and humour Trump as if there's like behind closed doors. There's look. Let's just stick it out. Let's give him what he wants for the next 2 years until he pisses off, and then we can get back to what we were doing before. It feels as if that's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, maybe, but then there are people lined up behind Trump in the Republican Party to just carry it on. It's a project, and they talk about it being a project as opposed to it being just about Trump. J.D. Vance doesn't strike me as being any better, and he's next in line.
No, it'd be worse.
Yeah, exactly. So if the Republicans win the next presidential election, which they could, because the Democrats are in a mess, then we get at least 4 more years, possibly 8 more years of the project. And then God knows what it looks like in 10 years' time. The world could be a very different place with 10 years of Trumpism.
I still think that Trump might try and stand again.
I wouldn't.
He might try and change the Constitution, or
he has
I wouldn't
actually
be surprised
said
if he tries to do that.
whatever he needs to do.
he has actually said he won't, hasn't he? And he is getting on a bit.
He's up. Was he north of 80 now? Isn't he?
Yeah, isn't he?
No.
He's 79, isn't he? I think he'll be
I think he's
82 at the next
75,
election.
isn't he?
No, I think he's 79.
Just googling it.
Yeah. So I think he'll be 82
Other
at the next
search engines
election.
aren't available.
1946 he was born, so he's approaching. He's 79, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
82 when he'll be finished.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think he's probably, I don't want to be president at 82.
But he'll still want power.
Oh, God, yeah.
So
He'll still have influence.
if he's
Massive.
chairman of the Board of Peace,
Yeah.
happy days. You can join it for £1 billion,
Can you?
Yeah.
That's like probably what Sir Tony Blair's been paid, is it, already, to join it?
He's on it, isn't he?
Of course he is.
That is extraordinary.
It's perfect for Tony Blair. That is.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, when he was asked to join, and he was like, "Oh yes, I'd be delighted, Donald. Thank you very much." He didn't quite think he'd be sat, on
Alongside
a table
Putin.
with Azerbaijan and Morocco.
Can you imagine it with Trump chairing it? It'd be a car crash of a session, wouldn't it? And a meeting, just generally.
It's genius.
I can see him pontificating in forums and meetings and presidential meetings and so on. I can't see him chairing a structured, intelligent meeting about world order. I just can't see that at all.
We've got an hour for this meeting. I'm going to talk for all of it.
Yeah.
What did you think of the speech?
I think it was awful.
All of his speeches are awful. They're just rambling nonsense, aren't they?
I'm pretty sure nothing was written down at all.
Yeah, no.
He was just going off on a tangent.
But if that's a riff, because it was nearly 2 hours long, wasn't it?
It's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's extraordinary.
It really is.
He's a narcissist.
But
Yeah.
but what an incredible
Imagine being able to talk for 2 hours
what an
without
incredible
prompting.
mind.
Well, incredible.
and you sort of-
Incredible as in, like, it's very difficult
As
to
in
credit.
referring to Greenland constantly as Iceland.
My favourite bit was when he just makes it up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
China makes all the wind turbines,
Yeah.
the windmills.
Yeah.
They sell them to stupid people. They don't use them themselves.
No, yeah.
only stupid people use them.
You'd all be speaking German, maybe a bit of Japanese. Let's not forget that America joined the war very late, by the way, as part of Allied forces. Only after Japan
I know,
bombed
because
them.
Japan had bombed them. Yeah. I mean, on the serious note, it was good to see that Starmer finally stand up to him when he criticised our forces in
Yes.
Afghanistan. Finally said, actually, this isn't acceptable.
And Rod Stewart as well, if you believe the Sun front page.
I think
Starmer stood up to Rod Stewart?
No, Rod Stewart stood up to Trump.
Oh, I see.
What did he say?
Well, I think he tweeted that Trump needs to apologise.
Trump's a generic.
Yeah, of course, Trump didn't apologise, but he did backtrack. He would never apologise because he is a narcissist.
I'd imagine Trump said, I don't want to talk about it.
Oh.
I'm very pleased with that.
I think I'm going to give Starmer a bit of, it's unusual for me, I'm going to give him a bit of cred for how he's been handling Trump.
Yeah, he's very good at it. Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really difficult, but I mean,
Yeah.
It's quite a clever or a difficult but sensible tactic. Sometimes he just says nothing, and he kind of lets the heat go out of the situation a bit before. He didn't have any choice with the British forces thing, does he? But I think he's done a reasonable job in very difficult circumstances in keeping that relationship at least functional.
From my point of view, we're stuck with Labour for 5 years, and the last thing I want is a change of leader. He's doing a reasonable job on the world stage, and I can only see it taking a massive lurch to the left if they replace him.
It will, yeah.
And as a result, I can only see things getting worse economically
Can you
if they
imagine
replace him.
Andy Burnham dealing with Trump?
It would be a nightmare. It genuinely
They'll
would
probably
be a nightmare.
bedfellows.
It'd be horrendous. Because you've got to be diplomatic, and the trouble with the left wing is they're righteous, aren't they? They're not diplomatic. They're principled, and principles come first, above and beyond everything else. And as a result, we'd end up with a terrible situation. And I think you've got to be a pragmatist when you're dealing with Trump, haven't you?
Very much so. Very much so.
So we don't want a principled person. We want a pragmatist, and Starmer will do for the time being, as far as I'm concerned. You know, even if things are a disaster in May, I hope they don't replace him.
I think you're right, Bill. He has done a good job. I mean, I must admit, I'm not. I wouldn't begin to know how to deal with somebody with a personality like Donald Trump. I mean, obviously amplified by the fact he's the leader of the largest, most powerful
The
country
free
in the
world.
Exactly. How do you deal with somebody like that, who either? I mean, he probably doesn't listen at all, apart from his own internal thoughts. That's the first problem. Doesn't listen. You can't deal with somebody who doesn't listen to you.
Yeah.
Well, the Greenland thing, at one point, it's a great example of that, isn't it? At one point, you felt that America was going to invade Greenland, with ground troops, and that we, NATO, would be in the sort of tricky situation of having to defend it. I literally had several conversations with some younger fitness clients of mine when I was joking to them, you're going to get called up and you're going to have to fight against the United States. And they were a bit like, oh.
And then we'd be in a
Not
position,
the enemy I was expecting.
Then we'd be in a position of releasing weapons which we've leased from the United States against the United States. Unbelievable.
Did you hear him when he was caught by the press when he came out of the meeting and he said, "Oh, I've done a deal for Greenland,"
Yeah.
And the reporter was there going, "Oh, can you describe it?" I can't describe it right now. It's still being worked out. It's a great deal for everyone, especially America. And she goes, "How long's the deal for?" And he went, "It's infinite."
I'm not telling you what the deal is, but it's forever.
It's forever. It's been infinite. Never ends.
Yeah. The man's mad. Okay, so we've come to kind of the end of the show. I just wanted one more thing of work, and I just wanted a very quick opinion from you guys about new media taking over old media. Go back a few years, Warner Brothers was pretty much the biggest media company. And I remember teaching that maybe 15, 20 years ago when I was teaching media. And Netflix are in the process of buying them out. And it's new media taking over old media. And how do we feel about that? Is this something that we think is going to be a trend?
Well, it's been a trend for a decade and a half already, isn't it?
Are we going to have BuzzFeed buying out the Daily Telegraph?
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, BuzzFeed in its original form and Lad Bible and that sort of thing, they were. I can remember back in our newsrooms having discussions about them stealing our eyeballs.
Yeah.
So that happened. We did some particularly lame efforts to sort of be a bit more BuzzFeedy, didn't we? Some of it was quite painful, but but they certainly changed some of the content that mainstream newsrooms were bringing in, and the introduction of listicles and that sort of stuff into newsrooms. So it's been going on for a long time, hasn't it? And it's going to keep going.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
From what I know about this, them buying Warner's essentially allows them to stream Warner's content, obviously at no cost, because obviously they own the content, but also it allows them access to production facilities and original content that they currently don't have. So it enables them to scale beyond simply streaming services. So it's a no-brainer from Netflix point of view. Also, they're in competition, obviously, with Paramount now, Paramount's now in competition with them, which deprives Paramount of Warner Brothers. So It was the perfect deal for them, really. They had to spend what they had to spend. Yeah, it's
they can
media.
compete with Disney.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, final message is our email address, stopthepresspodcast, is still there. stopthepresspodcast@gmail.com, and I will be checking it between now and the next show. And if we do have any emails, we will do questions and
celebrate.
answers. We'll celebrate. We will prove we've got a listener or two. And we will do the questions and answers in the next show, along with whatever else we come up with. It's going to be 2 or 3 weeks before we come back due to appointments by other people and stuff. Nick's got an actual job. But other than that, we shall see you in a few weeks' time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you all.
Bye.